You know, some lives get these grand, sweeping biographies, but for others, their story isn't in a book. It's a trail of breadcrumbs, census data, official letters, faded photographs, just waiting for someone to piece them together. Today, we're going to follow one of those trails. We're building a life story, piece by piece, from what the archives tell us. This is the documented life of Sara I. Fleetwood.
So, where do we start? Well, not at the beginning of her life. We're starting at a single moment in time, a moment where a name was entered into the official record, and it ended up changing a profession forever.
1901. Just let that year sink in.
Now, this was a huge deal. For the very first time, the leader of the Freedman's Hospital Training School for Nurses would be picked based purely on merit, on who got the highest score on a national exam. And the person who aced that test, who outscored every single applicant, it was a black woman.
Her name was Sara I. Fleetwood, and this is the story we can tell by following the paper trail she left behind. A remarkable journey as an educator, an organizer, and a true medical pioneer.
Okay, so to really understand the woman who broke that barrier in 1901, we have to rewind. We have to go all the way back to the beginning to see what the records tell us about her birth and her education.
The record shows Sara Iredell was born in St. Louis, Missouri, back in 1841. And get this, by the time she's only 15, she's already documented at Oberlin College, which was a real hub for abolitionist thinking. And she wasn't just a student. The record calls her a pupil teacher. That tells you she had a gift for education from a very young age. A decade later, we find her again, this time at the Institute for Colored Youth in Philadelphia, sharpening those skills even more.
And when you look at her family, wow! The archives connect her to people who were right in the thick of the fight for freedom and intellectual life. Her parents were George and Elizabeth Iredell. Her grandparents on her mother's side were well-known abolitionists. I mean, you can just imagine how growing up in that world, surrounded by that kind of activism, would shape a person. The records even show a relation to the author Frank J. Webb and, incredibly, a link back to a daughter of Aaron Burr. This was the environment that created her.
So with a foundation like that, it's really no surprise that her public life started long before she ever set foot in a hospital. The documents actually show her following two parallel paths of service.
So on one hand, you've got Sara, the educator. The records show her teaching in public schools in 3 different places: Philly, Frederick, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. But at the exact same time, she's building this whole other life as an organizer. Back in 1863, right in the middle of the Civil War, her name is on the list as a founding member of the Ladies' Union Association, helping black soldiers. And then, almost 30 years later, there's her name again, co-founding the super influential Colored Women's League in D.C.
Then, in 1869, another really important document appears, a marriage license. She marries Christian A. Fleetwood, who was a genuine Civil War hero and a Medal of Honor recipient. This marriage puts them right at the heart of Washington's black professional elite. And, what's really crucial for us as historians, it's what created the Fleetwood Papers, the archive where so much of her story is carefully saved.
So after decades as a respected teacher and community leader, the records show Sara Fleetwood does something pretty incredible. She makes a complete career change, stepping into a brand new field where she would leave her most lasting mark. I mean, think about this. At 52 years old, an age when a lot of folks are starting to think about retirement, Sara Fleetwood decides to start a whole new career. In 1893, she enrolls in the very first nursing class at Freedman's Hospital. 3 years later, she graduates. Just 5 years after that, in 1901, she's running the entire program as its directress. And by 1907, she's so well respected that she gets appointed to the DC Nurses Examining Board, the group that literally governs the profession in the city. I mean, that rise is just extraordinary.
And that appointment, that was so much more than just a personal win. She wasn't just a nurse anymore. She became a regulator, a standard setter for the entire profession in the Capitol. That appointment gave her a level of authority and official recognition that was just unheard of for a black woman at that time.
But the historical record also shows us how fragile that kind of progress really was. The sources are very clear on this. After her term was up, another black representative was not appointed to that board, even though the community protested. Her achievement was this amazing breakthrough, but it seems the system slammed the door shut right behind her.
Which brings us to the end of her life, and to the big question of how this story even survived for us to tell. And the answer, one more time, is right there in the archives.
Sara I. Fleetwood passed away on February 1st, 1908, but her story didn't die with her. Her letters, her work records, photos of her and her family, they're all meticulously preserved right alongside her husband's papers at the Library of Congress. That collection is the whole reason we can piece her incredible journey together today.
And her legacy isn't just on paper in some dusty archive. It's out there in the real world. If you walk down U Street in Washington, D.C. today, you can find a historical marker right at the spot where her home used to be. It's a real, physical connection to her life, a permanent part of the city's African-American heritage trail, making sure her story is never forgotten.
From that one single name in a government ledger from 1901, all the way to a historical marker on a busy city street, the documented life of Sara I. Fleetwood is just this powerful reminder of what's hiding in the historical record. And it leaves us with one last, really important question. How many other incredible lives like hers are just sitting there, right now, waiting to be rediscovered in the archives?